Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach Enough channel. In today's video, we're doing the round 6 preview. So a bit of a around the ground style, going through all the teams and the trades. But I guess we'll start off with looking at the most popular trades across the board. So over on the right side here, you'll see the most traded in is Greg Marzou for Jermaine Hopgood. Um, Actually, I'll just skip straight to the traded out because they'll pop up a few times. So, Jermaine Hopgood is the most traded out, and um, I think that's the correct decision. You can see he's made 250k. Um, he won't lose money this week, so if you did want to hold, I'd understand. But he's also not going to make a lot more money for us. So, there's a couple of players this week that can sort of give us that stepping stone up to a a keeper price sort of player, which is, I guess, what we want to try to do is to maximise that cash generation. So, totally agree with that call. But if you hold, he'll still score you some decent points. The Hammer, so I agree he should be the second most traded. Um, Again, won't lose a lot of value, but I think without Sean O'Sullivan in the team, his ceiling is somewhat limited. Um, and again, there's some decent options to trade to that will keep generating that cash for us. Tedesco, I'm going to trade him out as well, so I can understand he's missing this week. He'll also drop in cash even more. Um, so I know I got out of him a few weeks ago in the main side, and I guess that trade has paid off. Paul Alamotti, another one that you can trade out um, if you wanted to bring in one of those higher scoring, or sorry, higher cash generating options. Um, he could potentially make a bit more money because of his lower price compared to the Hammer. Um, but if he is your way to get to a Marzu or something like that, that's fair enough. Stefano is another one who's peaked in price, so you can look to trade him out. Um, Going down to Big Isaac from the Titans, I think is a good way to free up a couple of $100,000. Particularly if you're looking to build a war chest to get Nico Hines in next week. That's a really good trade too. Adam Dewey, so he's back in the 5/8 position. So what's his break even? 67. So you could wait a week and then his price will have probably bottomed out um, if you're looking to go that way. But I think until you see the Tigers with the combination that they're happy with, it might be best just to steer clear. Jonah Pezzett, so he made it 95k. He's done his job. He's not playing this week. So I think, a few people might have flipped him to Sean Johnson, catch another price rise on the way up to Nico Hines, perhaps. That's a smart trade. Matt Dury, so it looks like, he's out of the team altogether. And surprisingly, Bryce Cartwright has held his um, place in the starting team. So he was probably the right pick from the start of the season. Unfortunately, I was one of the ones on Dury, and I traded him last week to Josh Schuster, who looks like again won't be playing. So a bit flat there, but I mean, I've banked his bit of cash, so I'm happy with the 100k he's made. Pat Carrigan, a bit of a pot option. I think he's still dipping in price though, so probably not the the one I'd go to straight away. You could hold off another week or two. Um, Maybe use someone like a Zach Hosking, um, to make almost the difference, and then flip him the Pat Carrigan in a week or two. And Teague Wilton's on a buy, so yeah, you could get rid of him if there's a better option like a Hosking, Marzu, those sort of guys you want to bring in. In terms of the traded in, so Zach Hosking is the most popular trade in. I'm guessing that's because a lot of people going Hopgood out. Um, I'd probably have him second after Marzu in terms of who I'd want to bring in. Um, but in saying that, there's a good chance I will have both of those guys this week. So Marzu, yeah, I really like that trade. If you can afford to swing the hammer or someone like that to him, um, yeah, he's a bit like Carraz. He runs and breaks tackles. Not too sure about his offload game, but he has also scored tries. So just be mindful of that. He won't go as massive as what he has been, but he does have that built-in base, which is pretty handy to have. And I think now after their performances the last couple of weeks, or his performances, I should say, he'd be pretty well locked in. And I think Dom Young has got that other edge locked up, so can bring them in with a bit of confidence. Nathan Cleary, so this is an interesting one. A lot of people may be uh, getting out of Hines or something to bring him back next week. I don't know what's going on there, but he's a gun, so you can bring in a gun anytime you want. Reece Walsh, so I can understand this trade in, this particularly if you're flipping to Desco. He does have a couple of good fixtures coming up. But I know I talked about on the stock market video this week that I'd be leaning more towards Lachlan Miller at the similar price, dual position. Will be a keeper in the centre wing, whereas I'm not convinced that Walsh is that guy. He's more of a pot option. I think by the end of the season, I'll probably end up with Turbo and Teddy once he's all bottomed out and looking in a bit more form. Sean Johnson, yep. So he's already made a bit of cash. So well done to people that have got on him already. Um, and he's going to make some more cash over the next couple of weeks. But just the Warriors are looking good, and he's running the show. He's kicking the goals, so that makes a lot of sense. Jack Johns is an interesting one. I'm not even sure I touched on him in the stock market video, to be honest, because I did record it before team list, and I wasn't convinced he was going to be in the team again this week. But he's playing 13, and um, if he has locked that roll down, this is actually going to be a real bargain. So one I might actually consider over a Hosking just to get that extra couple hundred thousand out of him. Don't know if it's quite enough for what I'd ultimately like to do, but that's fine. we'll work with what we've got. Payne Haas, so yep, he's a gunner. He's the one I'm targeting. Now that I've got Nico Hines, he's the other one I really want to get in. Whether I can pull it off this week remains to be seen. But definitely in the next couple of weeks, his price will probably have peaked by then. But he's a gun, so I'm sick of missing out on the points. Big Isaac, far similar. Are we? Lowy? No, I'll keep practicing. But yeah, I really like this as if you're looking to cash out at Uda Ikamani, obviously if you go up to Haas, that's great. But if you need to go down, that's fine too. Jacob Preston is traded in. Yep. So I guess if you think he's a keeper, bring him in. He's under a bit of an injury cloud. It's probably not my first pick, to be honest. And Josh Schuster. So report is that he's actually not going to play again this week. When do they play? I'll look at NRL Fantasy. It'll have it up the top here. So they play, yes, Saturday afternoon. So I guess what you could do is if he's not playing, you could change to Jack Johns if you've got him in the second row. If you've got him at 5'8", I think you'll just have to run with that. But so some interesting trades. I think you start to see the patterns and that sort of thing. But I guess then the question is, what does that mean for my team? So I think what it means is Hopgood's out. I'm going to go with the hammer out just because he's got that bit of extra cash on his head. And so the one that's definitely coming in, just go by 3-round average, is Mazu. He's going to have a big jump in cash. Whether he stays in the team as a keeper or is just a cash grab, we'll see over the coming weeks. But then we've got 500k to spend. So a couple of options that I'm thinking about is the first one is obviously just going someone like a Zach Hosking. That's a 1-for-1 trade. Um, Another option is I just have to find him is to bring in Lemu Elu in the second row, with a plan to next week probably be Alamotti down to Tom Eisenhuth. So then I'll have that flick between the second row and the centre wing. Um, and I guess, this is probably the absolute last week I could get on Lemuelu before, his price is probably a bit too much and the cash generation isn't going to quite be there. Or the third option, and this is the one I haven't really tested out yet, is using the trade boost that's already activated, um, and then trading out Big Stefano. This looks like it could. Oh no, it's not going to work. So Payne Haas comes in, and then I can't quite get to Isaac. So I guess that could become Lemuelu. Is he about 20 something on the list? Oh, guess I'm going to help break even. So bring Isaac in, and then we can definitely afford Connolly. Yeah, so I think I really do want to get Marzu in. So let's just cancel and reverse out of that. So again, it's going to be Hopgood. It's going to be Fido. Marzu in. Well, let's just do Payne Haas. We've got the third one there, so find my man Isaac. Be fairly high up on the list. So 438 would be the amount we'd have to find. So, well, cheese wouldn't work anyway. Stefano's not quite there. Yeah, none of those other backs are quite there yet, which is a bit flat. So yeah, so I don't think we're getting the Payne Haas this week. So then, we've got 500 to spend. So it doesn't look like there's any other value in the front row. So then it's a question of if we want to go for Hosking or Johns. And I think maybe just to be a bit different and also to bank a bit more cash, we might go with John. So just keeping that war chest to get Payne Haas in next week. As I said, Alamotti to Eisenhuth should make another 120k thereabouts. So that's 400. So as long as Payne Haas doesn't get up over 800, which let's have a look and see what he's projected. Yeah, so break even of 62. So even if he pushes 100, that's only going to be about 30k. So I think we're safe. So I think that's the play for this week is those two trades. And then how the team will shape up is Tohu will come into the starting team, as will Fafita. Um, all right, Preston, we'll put him on the start as well. Hines has to swap with Cleary. Dylan Brown, yes. The back four, maybe. Maybe Alamotti. Who the Dragons got? Dragons got the Titans, who don't have the most solid defense in the game, so maybe we'll leave that. And then, yeah, Tommy Turbo, absolutely. Alright, so then the reserves. Cheese, yes. Jackson Ford, yes. What do we need? Another one. So Jack Johns, I suppose, because Schuster's probably out. Who Khan Pereira against the Dragons? Maybe Warbrick against the Roosters. I don't know. We might stick solid with Alamotti, so then I can swap him with maybe Nickel Clockstad, just because a bit less cash, because he plays later in the round. They both play early. Titans, they play fairly late. Not as late as those two though, so that's fine. And the cheese can stay there because I'm going to go Harry Grant VC, mostly because I'm going away camping for a couple of days. So hopefully, if the VC pops off, I can do the switch before I go. And pretty happy to keep the C on Cleary, I think. Yeah, if I had to pay in Haas, I might be tempted to go towards him. Cam Murray against the Dogs. I won't wish that on the boys. Not brave enough to go one of these. And Tommy Turbo at Penrith, a bit iffy. So I'll stick solid with Cleary, I think. So that's the NRL SuperCoach. In terms of AFL, while we're going on the SuperCoach page, I've already done these, so I'll just undo and redo. But essentially, after a bit of deliberation on this as well, gone Finn Callahan out. And the number one in target I had was actually in the forward line, so I have to move Davey and get on Chandler. He's scoring points, he's making cash. Obviously missed a big jump, but I think he's still got enough in him. And then the other one, which I guess might look obvious, is Will Phillips, the Chesser. But what I'm actually thinking of doing, because I'm a little bit short in the midfield here, and um, as much as I'd like to bring in Phillips, I think there's a couple of slightly more pottish options. So Jinby's going to move there. And I'm also going to get rid of Ridley. And I'm going to bring in Jack Buckley and Will Day. So complete those trades. So I think just trying to be a bit different. So you can see there's about 10,000 going in with Will Phillips. I should have had those stats highlighted. Actually, I can get that from the player section, can't I? So the trade-ins. So you can see Will Phillips is the third most popular, and then this is slightly less. And I think they'll all make a similar amount of cash, um, and because these guys have a higher price on them, it means generally they'll make more points to make the same amount of cash. I've gone the wrong way. So yeah, and I guess what that does for the lineup is the defense is now a little bit more solid. Although actually it's sort of a bit sideways, but there's more cash generation there. Jinby's going to come on field, so the midfield is pretty solid. Warple's a bit iffy, but he could become Will Phillips next week if he doesn't fire up. The rucks are fine, and the forward line is immaculate. I think maybe Green, Davey would be better here, but we do now have that forward swing as well, which is really nice. I don't have the defensive swing anymore, but as these guys cash out, We've got these two will be able to flick between forward and defence as well, so we should have a lot of flexibility in a couple of weeks. But in terms of captain, vice captain, we'll VC Dacos because he's playing tonight, in line with what I just discussed, if it ever wants to work. And then in terms of the captain option, I think I'm going to go with Josh Kelly. So should have a look at the most popular captaincy options just real quick. Should have done that with NRL too, but too far gone. Captain's choice or coach's choice, all coaches, most popular captains. Hey, so you can see it's a pretty pod sort of captain option, 0.5%. It might be because he's not that well owned, perhaps. Yeah, so he's only at 3.6%. So I guess that's 1 in 6 people who own him are willing to captain him. But we'll bet against Bontempelli. We don't have Clary, which is a bit of a shame. He's the obvious option this week. Don't have English either, which would be nice, but we'll do what we can do, I think. Yeah, so that's AFL. I'll go NRL Fantasy next. So, in terms of what we're going to do here, just want to have a look at Hopgood's break even 55. Yeah, I think if we're going to get Nico Hines in, he's one we do have to take advantage of. So, dual position's nice. So train goes past. But I guess out of the guys we've got, he's probably not the one we'd consider to be a keeper. So let's bring Jackson Ford in. Actually, swap Cheese, get him in the side because Kepi's fairly expendable if we need to get rid of someone. We do have Val Holmes as well, who has a bit of cash sitting on him that we're willing to part with. And yeah, so I guess in terms of the trade-ins, if I just go back to the break-even website, this one's really nice. That's why I don't pay for the NRL Fantasy Coach. You can see Khan Pereira has the lowest break-even. Unfortunately, Sean Bloor has the second lowest after we binned him, which is a bit flat. But Jack Johns is an interesting one. You can see he's still fairly cheap. And currently only on the edge, but you'd think if he keeps playing lock, he'll eventually get that dual position. So, again, we'll go with Johns. Yeah. Alright, and then the second trade. We've got two options here. We can either go Chester or Dury. Chester is named on the bench and has a break even of 0, so as long as he gets on the field, he will make us a bit of money, and then I guess we'll have to be traded. So, yeah, I'm not too worried either way. He's not playing in the side, so we'll squeeze the last bit of cash out of him and we'll swap Dury for Khan Pereira. So just confirm those trades. Alright, so how that leaves us is we will have to play Katoa this week, which isn't ideal, but you can see we've got 600k. Peasant's got 330k on his head, so that makes what, 925. So we only really need to find another 80k out of a Kepi perhaps, or Tommy Chester, yeah, even a Warbrick or something like that. We might not even have to use Val Holmes to get us there, which would be pretty nice, ideally. So in terms of how the team will look, what I'm going to do, just to cover for pressing, because we don't have any edge cover, is I will play Lemuelu on the bench. Pezzett can come down the bottom. Actually, we have Jack Johns, I forgot. Rookie error there. Slide him up. He plays against the Warriors, doesn't he? So we'll swap him. Can't get the spot. Swap him with Jackson Ford. And Ford's definitely there. And we might be able to do a little loophole here too with Pezzett, I just realised. So slide him up the list. Yeah, so Penrith played Manly, so I was thinking putting Luke in the loophole spot, but then we're going to have to play the other one of these guys, which might not quite work out. And again, it's Friday, so I won't even, or Saturday, so I won't even really be able to see the game too well. That's fine. We won't worry about loopholes and getting fancy. So actually, we'll put Kepi in, I think. Just that more consistent base. Hopefully, Sony Luke goes off because we've made this decision. So slide him down the bottom. And then it's just Warbrick or Khan Pereira in for Chester. Yeah, I think I'd back the Dragons to be a bit leakier in defence than the Roosters, so I might go that way. But I have Warbrick above Chester, so he'll come in first in case of emergency. Can probably go that way too. Play forward in the edge over Lemuelu. Don't think that really matters. Yeah, so that's how the team's looking there. Like I said, we've got the war chest ready to go for next week, and we'll definitely find enough cash there. So captain, vice captain, probably leave that as is, I reckon. Stick solid with Harry Grant. Onto the sports deck team. Alright, so what are we thinking here? So I guess maybe again Hopgood is gonna disappear on all the teams, it would seem. Do we go the obvious one with Johns, or can we be a bit smarter about it? So I guess the other trade I was thinking about was if we move the hammer, we can bring in. It's not going to show up on 3-round average, is it? Khan Pereira, so he should make a nice little jump in cash. He had a massive, I think, 77 or something. Yeah, 76. There you go. It's pretty close. So he'll kick up in price again this week. And then what that will allow us to do, get rid of the name. It won't even allow us to do that. Pain ass. Unlucky. Round 5 points. Let's see. So many other real cheap options. I guess it's a bit of a broken record. What did Jack Johns do? Oh, okay. 250. And he can swing with Schuster as well. That's interesting. Not that we can swing him in here. It's unfortunate. We haven't used a trade boost yet. Maybe we can use a boost to treat ourselves. And we need to only make 30k. So I guess that will probably be Kepi out. John's in. That could work. So if we complete the trade. So, well, I guess maybe, actually, let's undo that. Just go back to the start. It's usually easier. So, Hopgood out. Um, did I try and Stefano out, or did I try and... No, that's right. No, hang on. I traded Hopgood out to bring Haas in, didn't I? Yeah. So for Doe out, swap him with Multaruva maybe. And Khan Pereira in. And that's not going to work. I was thinking maybe Mawale. Oh, actually, it will work if we go Mawale out. And bring Isaac in. So a little bit different approach perhaps with the sports deck just to mix it up. There you go. So Isaac in, that makes us the money. Yeah, let's go it. Alright, so then you got Haas and Stefano, which I'm happy to run Stefano in front row 2 spot there. Pele, he's just gonna do nothing for us, unfortunately. Let's get Fafita back in the running on squad, and Schuster will sort with Burton because Hines is out. Schuster's probably out too, so Ford's in. Kraz will sort with Ruva. And then we just pick one of these guys as our fourth bench option, I think. So let's go to Ruva just to be a bit different. See how it works out. Bit of rookie roulette there with the sports deck team. So probably not Burton as captain. Let's I guess we do the same VCC. I guess because yeah, it worked out all right for us last week doing the loop. Definitely got enough options here for who we could loop in. So yeah, so that's the sports deck team. I suppose the only one that's left is the Bulldog project. Alright, so with the Bulldog project team, uh, we don't have Hines yet, but we do also want to get Payne Haas in. So we can actually do that this week with a single trade. So Payne Haas in, perfectly worked out. So I think we've got to go that. But then how do we get Hines in? I think the first step is we need to look at Tedesco out. So going Tedesco out, and I think in line with what we're doing with the main SuperCoach team, I need to swing someone into the fullback slot, don't I? Because I'm thinking about Lemuelu, so that gives us 258 to spend next week. So if you look at Reynolds as 339, you know, 600 gives us about 300 we need to make. And it'll be a case of, again, probably someone like Hammer down to Eisenhuth. That'll get us another 215. So I've already forgotten what I've said, but I think that's about 800. So then we just need to find another 100,000, and whether, you know, we end up, it's not ideal, but we might have to cash out on one of these guys. Could cash out Hopgood. Don't really want to use the boost this week though, so well, I guess we're going to have to use one this week or next week if I think about it properly, because Reynolds to Hines is one trade, so we need to be able to make that other 300 grand in a trade. So it'd be a Hopgood way down to someone. Not sure who that would be. No, sorry. I've stuffed up with that logic. So let's make these trades. We can. Oh, no, let's just cancel that. Yeah, so let's just use the boost. We won't actually use it, but the trade would be. Yeah, so we need to find 300k in a single trade. And so Tabuai for Doe to Eisenhuth would be about 215, which isn't quite what we're after. Unless, yeah, so like, unless it's kick out down to, oh, we can't see his break even. I think it's pretty high. I guess it sort of goes against the principles of the Bulldog project, but it might have to be kick out to Eisenhuth. Let's just have a look what it is. Tom Eisenhuth, 279. Oh, I wouldn't even quite work out then. That's only 300, 301, 302. Hmm, bit flat. What else? Well, I guess maybe we start looking at down. Maybe we go early on Eisenhuth. So, do we want to get rid of the hammer or probably Avarillo would go first? So, using another trade boost, which I think that only gives us one left. But hey, that's kind of the nature of this squad. Trying to get it into some sort of shape. Um, yeah, so what's that? 400 next week, so that'll be 760. No, 760 thereabouts. So we only need to find another 140, which I guess we'll work it. Maybe we get out of Hopgood. Actually, could we get out of Hopgood? Um, Hopgood to Eisenhower. And then we've got that little flex as well, which is nice. 524. So 850. Yeah, so we're only going to find 50k next week, which I think will be well and truly achievable if it's Alamotti or Fado. Probably the hammer will go out. We could get someone that pops off this week, perhaps. Yeah, let's go with that. I think. Cool. So yeah, so when we have a look at the team now, we've got Marnie and Grant, which is great. Haas and King, yes please. Katoa, Ford, Eisenhuth, put him bench, mate. Oh, actually, maybe Lemuelu. Yeah, leave him on the bench, I suppose. Cleary, Burton, yes, yes. Back four, just Tommy Turbo. Let's not be silly about that. So Grant, yes, on the bench. Lemuelu, yes. So it's yeah, it is down to these guys. Um, yeah, I think I'm going to go with Almighty on this one. But captain, vice captain, I'm going to captain Payne Haas. And I will VC Harry Grant in this format as well, just to take advantage of that if we can pull it off. Yes, the Dolphins play. Oh, they play pretty early. Maybe swap him in forward. And same sort of deal here. If we need to get out of that pick, we certainly can. Sloan. let's back the boys in. Avarillo and Alamotti in. And even then, let's just tidy that up too. It's just been a bit slow. But yeah, so the Hammer and Nickel Clockstad will sit on the bench. We've got the strong back four there, centre wings for the Dogs. But yeah, obviously, not having our two gun second rows isn't helping. Not having any cash gen on the front row bench isn't helping. But we've got after next week, we've got two gun hookers, two front rowers, three decent, or the second row squadron is decent. Just unfortunately, the guns aren't playing. Solid half. We'll have two half backs, decent 5'8". Back line is solid without being spectacular, and obviously Tommy Turbo must have. And yeah, so that's all the teams going into round six. Round four of the AFL season. Um, if you've got any comments about changes that you'd make, feel free to share. I've been getting a couple of comments starting to come in, which is really cool to be able to interact with people. Yeah, if you're liking the content, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Again, getting a couple more subscribers in, which is fantastic to see. And other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.